Alright, here's what we got going on today. We have this 04 Electra Glide, excuse me. It's early. Customer brought it in, talked to him over summer, wanted to do some upgrades, some handlebars. Just tell you something quick about these twin cams. They're starting to get a little bit cheaper to pick up, and they're a pretty reliable bike. This is an early one with a 5-speed. But one major thing to check on it is these cam chain tensioners, if they've never been checked. Now this bike has about 27,000 miles on it, and we recommended to the customer when we were doing the handlebars, which we put a nice set of 12-inch LA Chopper Twin Peak bars on it. We told them we were going to have the exhaust off, and in doing so gives you access to the cam cover. And the reason we had to take the exhaust off is to get the clutch cable changed out, because you can't get the bolts out because the exhaust is in the way of these couple bolts down here. But anyways, we're talking about the cam chain tensioners today on these early twin cams. They were a spring type, which you can see here, and all it relies on is spring pressure to hold tension on that timing chain. Now there's another one on the back side, which I don't know if you can see it. You can kind of see a little bit of orange in there. Right there. That's another tensioner where there's another chain where both the cams are connected. And what we're looking for is right here. You can usually see it appears to look okay. There's plenty of meat there. It doesn't look like it's super worn in. But the one thing you gotta be careful of is this. You gotta take it a step further and actually, give me a second here. Actually gotta pry these back and actually look at the pad itself. Let's see if I can zoom in on that. You can see how it looks. Where are we going here? There we go. See, that looks all real rough and it's not smooth. So what that's starting to do is delaminate. And what happens is all those little pieces that are starting to chunk off of there, and we actually found a couple when we took it apart. They were randomly scattered on the top of the cam plate. Those pieces will end up throughout the motor and potentially cause blocks, which will lead to oil starvation and possibly seizing up, scoring up pistons, rocker shafts, etc., blocking passages for the lifters. So you got to catch these things on the early side and address them. You've got two options. You can either replace them with another set of factory ones, which we talked to the customer, and what we're going to do is actually upgrade him to one of these fueling hydraulic conversion kits. These kits are great. We love selling these. This is like a one and done deal for the most part. I mean, they still have a wear tensioner, but we convert that spring to a hydraulic style. And we've got a cam plate, there's oil pump in here, lifters, you get all the gaskets. I mean, it's a pretty solid kit that's got every single thing in it. Cam bearings, inner cam bearings, always replace those if you got these things apart. And we're going to end up putting a set of mild cams in this thing since we have it apart. I'm going to do a set of fueling 525s. And on another note, this being an 04, you got to be careful because 04 and down twin cams, you're limited on your valve lift with the stock spring. If you have a 05 and newer twin cam, they actually changed out the valve springs, which allows you to run a higher lift cam. So you have to be careful on these earlier ones how big of a cam you're putting in it, or you're going to run into breaking valve springs and catastrophic failure, which we've seen it all before. But again, this is just kind of going over these tensioners, explaining the deal. When a lot of guys say, oh, cam chain tensioners, this is what they're talking about. These early spring type style ones. And again, the way to go is just to convert it. That way you're putting a new oil pump in this bike. Again, I know it's only got 27,000 miles on it, but you can drastically see on the oil pressure gauge on these bikes, when they start, you're getting them back up to where they need to be. 32, when they get hot, they generally don't drop below that, which, I mean, that's the ideal oil pressure you want to run on these things. So again, thanks for watching, and this is what we got going on today. We'll make some more videos in the future to try to inform everybody.